He's a bit of a one-trick pony, isn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what? He's a really, really lovely man, but I just love the fact that I heard that and he's back and he's bending spoons.
You don't actually believe he bends spoons?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, let's go to Rosie.
He does. Becca, thank you.
Well, she started in Scotland. Today, Rosie has made it all the way down to Hastings on the south coast. Good morning, Rosie.
It really has. Well, in certain parts of the country, but as Bradley was pointing out, in parts of the north, it's fine, and it's actually in parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. I don't think the weather's due to change that much.
Really?
Really, though it's going to be pretty cool, I think. OK, we're going to take a quick break. You're watching GB News, that great British breakfast. Up next, we'll be looking at how the pound in your pocket is affected by some of the financial news around. Stay tuned.
No, we've lost David, unfortunately. I was enjoying that. I was just about to ask him about Manchester United.
It is interesting, though, that clearly because of staycations, more people are spending time in the UK. And actually, I saw the BA announced yesterday, in addition to those EasyJet flights, that it's going to fly more to places like Northern Ireland from like Exeter and Cardiff, because people clearly are not going to be able to go away much this summer.
Quite a few years ago, and it was one of my favourite holidays I've ever done. But I wonder how long it's going to continue for. I mean, there are so many beautiful parts of the UK to visit, but
itching, aren't we, to get away?
Will people be worried about new variants or potentially?
I think people will absolutely, especially if they are double vaccinated. I think that they will embrace travel, and I'm really hoping for the travel industry, a bit like the entertainment industry.
Absolutely.
They will get out there, and there will be. We hope for a boom, really, don't we? That's all we can hope.
I think in the short term, some people might be a bit cautious and hesitant, but you know that the DUP leader Edwin Poots has an extraordinary story, this, isn't it? Resigned just 3 weeks into the job. I think resigned, kind of booted out to a large degree, throwing into doubt a compromise deal with Sinn Féin to ensure that Paul Givan becomes Northern Ireland's First Minister, and of course will have implications on the existence of the Stormont Assembly and that Brexit protocol deal.
That's right. The Liberal Democrats have won the Chesham and Amersham by-election. It's the first time the Tories have ever lost the seat, and also reduces the government's majority to 80.
First Minister Mark Drayford is expected to confirm today the lockdown easing due on Monday in Wales will be postponed for a further 4 weeks.
And all over 18s in England will be offered a coronavirus vaccine from this morning. Good news. The government has also set a new target, giving 2/3 of over 40s both doses by July 19th, which is essentially the new Freedom Day.
Right, and England play Scotland at Wembley tonight. For the first time in a major tournament in 25 years, up to 20,000 Scottish fans are expected to travel to London, despite less than 3,000 having tickets. And we're going to also get some pictures of those fans all over London as well. Well, last night, Andrew Neil spoke to Professor Tim Spector, who is Professor of Genetic Epidemiology at King's College London as well. We're going to come back to that. Actually, we can hear from him right now.
Have gone up. I mean, it's not that long ago when we were getting kind of 1,000, 2,000 daily cases, 11,000 I think it was yesterday, which is concerning. But it is mainly among young people who've not had the vaccine after a couple of nights. So the good news is that essentially hardly anyone over the age of 65 is ending up in hospital because most of them have been double jabbed. Those younger people who are getting infected...
Just to say we're getting it under control?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, as Andrew Neil was saying...
We have now been double jabbed. It's not significant in terms of obviously reaching that herd immunity threshold, but we are on a very, very, very strong trajectory.
Teens can turn out today in England to get the...
To that news, are you running to get it or get on the list in your droves? Let us know at GB News, GB Views at gbnews.uk, because, I mean, it's great news that, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And I think a lot of people, I think wrongly kind of suggest that young people don't want to get vaccinated, but actually all of the evidence have been to the contrary. I mean, the Twickenham Arena...
Indeed, I was there. I'm not even that young.
Thousands of young people there, and now, obviously, last week, over 25s were allowed, and
we're getting your views, and also Rebecca, Breakfast Babe Rebecca, returns with what's trending online. First, though, here's the weather where you are.
The nation comes together to watch what's going to prove to be a pretty divisive game in some regards as England take on Scotland at Wembley. Thousands, 20,000 we reckon Scotland fans have descended on the capital in London to see how this game is going to play out. They clearly want to be here to potentially celebrate or commiserate together.
And you can understand, can't you?
Of course.
I mean, you know, obviously they've been discouraged, but they want to be there. They want to be in the vicinity. And, you know, this is a huge game. It's 25 years since England met Scotland in a major tournament. And you can sort of understand that. And Anaya, I know your view is good for them, good on them. No,
absolutely. I mean, I think in terms of the drinking and the kind of irresponsibility around alcohol, that's obviously a concern. But I think we have to remember that we've been locked up for effectively over a year, and that kind of constrains to see people just enjoying themselves, having fun, and not worrying about all of those anxieties that I think have been crippling public life for the last 12 months.
We should say the Mayor of London's
very vocal. Regards sport. I know that she has been in the past. We haven't actually heard from her about this game or the responsibility of the fans or regards them travelling down here. So it is funny, that, isn't it? What do you make of that, Darren? And the fact there's not been any sort of input or reaction from her.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure why she's not got involved.
Etched in your brain.
Precisely, that they got together, that famous Paul Gascoigne goal. Even I remember that. And so there's a big moment for the country, and you can't have a go at fans wanting to celebrate that.
Yeah, and I do wonder, I mean, yes, obviously I understand that they've kind of discouraged it, but surely they should have taken this into account. Not many people...
Maybe you haven't made the journey because you felt that it was irresponsible, or you didn't have a ticket. At GB News, GB Views at gbnews.uk, and we will hopefully read some of those out.
I think the one thing, though, is unforgivable is essentially this idea that there's not a proper fan zone, that this has not been dealt with properly, and as you say, it's not come as a surprise. No. Anyway, let's know, particularly if you're a Scotland fan, get in touch.
Let's get more reaction. Let's join our reporter, Ellie Costello, who's at King's Cross Station, as the Scottish fans stream in. Good morning to you, Ellie. What is the scene like there? Are there many people around? Thought for me, as an England, you know, live in England, Scottish-born. I'll tell you later. I'll keep you waiting. I will tell you.
Look forward to that. Look forward to that. OK, what else is happening today?
Let's have a look at what else is happening. Yeah, the Liberal Democrats have won the Chesham and Amersham by-election. It's the first time the Tories have ever lost the seat and reduces the government's majority to 80.
Justice Secretary Robert Buckland has apologised to rape victims following a review into low conviction rates. The government will also consider allowing victims to pre-record their evidence to avoid traumatic courtroom appearances.
And the husband of a British woman killed in Athens has confessed to her murder. Caroline Crudge was found next to a child in what first looked like a robbery that had gone wrong. On June 21st, Wales could have seen the number of people allowed to mix indoors increase and the opening of more indoor facilities with ice skating rinks, for example, though I'm not entirely sure why you want to go ice skating in the middle of summer. But the announcement is expected to take place at a press conference later, led by the First Minister, Mark Drakeford, today in Cardiff.
Well, over 11,000 new COVID cases were registered across the United Kingdom yesterday, with 1,227 people being admitted into hospital. The rate of hospitalisations is slower, though, compared to previous months, and the number of deaths each day, no matter how tragic, remains low. 19 new deaths were registered within 28 days of a positive test yesterday.
Well, let's go to someone who's actually dealing with the consequences of the pandemic.
Top stories today about the by-election win. The Lib Dems won. Usually it is obviously a Tory seat, isn't it, in Chesham and Amersham. This is quite a blow for the Tories, isn't it? Tell us more about this.
Yeah, it really is, and somewhat of a surprise, it must be said. I mean, the Lib Dems have been pushing this narrative, actually, over the last week or so, that they were doing particularly well there. You know, they've been chucking the kitchens in 5,000. So a majority of 8,000 are... It's been Tory since it was created in 1974.
So, why have the people lost faith in the Tories? I mean, there were warning signs, weren't there, a couple of months ago, I believe?
Yeah, I think largely this is also down to political narrative. Now, we've talked about the red wall. Now, it's maybe slightly more liberally towards the Lib Dems or to the Labour Party. Though it is notable how badly the Labour Party did also in the by-election. I mean, they saw their vote collapse from over 11,000 in 2019 to just 622 votes, finished fourth. Quite extraordinary. But we're going to have more on this, I think, a little bit later. We've got a guest coming on to talk about it.
Yes, coming up, we're going to have a look at all the day's headlines. And Rosie Wright's on the road in Hastings this morning, talking to local businesses about the news that matters to them. That's after the weather with Alex Deakin.